This is TNC Movie Nights. I'm Brandon. This is my trustful co-host, Alex. And we, as we mentioned on our previous show, we're going to be doing Enola Holmes for our review this week. The new Netflix movie that just dropped on Wednesday, the 23rd of September. It's kind of exciting. This is, I think, the first time the movie came out review. So that's... I was very excited to go there. We did have a little watch party. We did have someone hop in. I did find out that was Adam at the end. I was like, who is that? I was like, cool, we got a viewer. And then Adam watched it with us for I think the whole movie. So we're going to kind of jump into it a bit, and we'll kind of mention some things from our previous show, which was foreshadowing. If you have not seen that episode yet, if you want, you can... check it out after or before this one. Doesn't really fall in line with anything since it's just a review episode. But we're going to mention a couple things. So if you want to maybe have a better understanding of what we're talking about, I'd say go watch that episode. So I'm going to go ahead and send it over to Alex so he can start off a little bit. Just a general sense before we dive way too deep into this movie. What did you think?
This was interesting because I wasn't quite sure how I felt, because some parts of it I really, really liked. Other parts of it, maybe not so much. But I think by the end of it, they swung me, and I was like, okay, I like this movie, because it felt like it had a very, I guess, realistic ending. Like, that's not what someone who was just like lazy and trying to solve all of their problems was just gonna write. It's like, this seems realistic. It's still a happy ending sort of thing, but it made sense, so it wasn't just like, and they all lived happily ever after. So I kind of liked it. I'm not normally a big fan of movies that rely so heavily on exposition. And this whole movie was kind of a lot of that, like, fourth wall breaking narrative exposition. I'm a big believer in show don't tell, especially with movies, because you have the luxury of being able to show a lot of things. You have a lot of pros and cons when you're talking about something that's, maybe on paper or in a book versus a movie. With the book, maybe you get a little bit more in depth, you can be more descriptive. But with a movie, you can literally just show it. So instead of just saying, oh, and then they did this, and then they did this, and then they did this, you can just watch them do it. And no one has to say anything. And we can watch it happen. So normally, that's kind of a not awesome thing for me. But oddly enough, the fact that this movie stuck to it and didn't just introduce that with a ton of exposition, they kind of kept that going, a motif, if you will. We picked a hell of a week to do the episode that we did, man, because we get to cover like everything we talked about. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is I didn't expect to like the things that I liked, and so all in all, I'd say this was a pretty positive experience. How about you?
I think my biggest struggle I was having with the movie at times, again, I did enjoy it. I wouldn't say I love it. Would I ever watch it again? Maybe if I was like, I want to watch some mystery sort of thing, maybe. I would definitely say it's, worth a watch since it's on Netflix. But I felt like the movie had a very difficult time establishing its identity, in a sense. And the reason I say that, when the movie started, first 20, 30 minutes, I was like, okay, so this is like a young adult film. Like 20 to 30-ish area, kind of like that Twilight area, but like maybe a little older. And I was like, okay, cool, awesome. Then it kind of took a step back. And I'm going to mention this now. This is going to be some spoilers. We're going to break down the movie as a whole. So if you have not seen this movie yet, please understand there's going to be spoilers. So go watch it first unless you don't care about it being spoiled. And to kind of jump into that right away, it kind of got a little childish at times. Like, it felt almost like a Disney movie. And I don't have a problem with that, but kind of keep it going through the whole film. And then at the end, it felt like an adult, suspenseful thriller where the dude got shot, and you're like, whoa. And then the other dude like got killed. And I'm like, what is this movie? Because it like felt like a young adult film. You maybe see a little bit of violence, maybe like someone smoking, like that's the biggest thing you see. And then it turned into, this feels like a Disney movie. You're not going to see people hit each other. And then you see her get stabbed by a dude and you're like, whoa, this is an adult movie. And then it was like back to being a kids movie. And the weird reason I say like the kids movie and stuff, just kind of how she was acting like boys with the side character. I was like, I just wish she kind of kept that constant, because she was so independent. She was such like a strong character. And then they kind of took that away at times. And it just felt really awkward to me. I don't have a problem with them doing that. It just felt kind of out of place. And then also kind of what you said with the exposition moments where she kind of broke the fourth wall. I thought it was cool when it started, and then I kind of forgot about it. And then they threw one in where it was like, you know what I'm talking about. And it was like talking to us. And I'm like,
that one was a little on the nose.
Yeah, I really didn't like that at all. Because I completely forgot that they did that in the beginning of the film. Because it was like here, and then she's kind of more like narrating things in the film, not really like talking to the audience fourth wall. So those two things are kind of my small issues. They just didn't keep them consistent, like enough to me. I wanted them a little bit more, or give us some more understanding. Like, yes, this is, this age range of movie, instead of kind of, I don't know, it lost me a bit. And I had a hard time getting into the film because there were points where I'm like, it just took me out, because I'm like, this just feels like a different movie right now.
See, I totally agree with you for most of that, and then I disagree with a little bit. I think you hit the nail on the head with it. You couldn't really figure out who this was directed towards.
Mm-hmm.
And so I totally agree with you on that. Sometimes it felt like kind of a teeny bopper sort of movie, and this is what we're going to do. And then, you see a pine cone go to a guy's temple, a brass pine cone go to a guy's temple with blood on it. And you're like, whoa, okay, maybe not.
Yeah.
And then some very adult themes in the whole message of the power of voting and creating your own destiny sort of thing, not letting your society mold you and all of that. And then other parts, it was just like, haha, she's $5 and she's gonna make someone change clothes with them again. Isn't this fun?
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally see that. I do disagree a little bit with her, the whole boy crazy thing. I don't think they ever really crossed the line, at least for me, because they were both kind of weird and both not fitting in with their families at the time. And then there was definitely some romantic tension between them, but I don't feel like it was ever to her detriment. I don't think she ever had to sacrifice her own individuality just to be kind of flirty with the dude.
But that one I can totally see being on either side of, because not a big fan of what feels like forced love stories, but
if something is perceived as being a natural progression of a relationship, then whatever, sometimes it just works. So I felt like they kind of walked that line with this one, at least for me. Again, this is a very personal thing, and I could totally see how either side would be like, no, never, and it's yeah, totally. But yeah, I don't think they ever did it to her detriment as a character. But that's just...
I guess part of it where I got a little lost in that one was the whole 30 minutes of plot in leading us was, I gotta find my mom. I gotta find my mom. I gotta find my mom. I'm off to find my mom. Meets boy. Story completely changes. Who's my mom? I don't care about her. And then it's just I know she references things with her mom throughout the film here and there. And I understand the way they explained why she was focusing with on him. I liked it. It was good. I don't know. It just kind of it gave something weird just with the character. I don't know. It was just so again how driven she was to find out where her mom went, and then she's okay just letting that go because boy shows up. So I don't know.
See, I totally rolled my eyes when they did that, where it like did the page tearing thing when it was like find mom and save like Tewksbury or whatever. But what she was saying before, I felt like that was almost an empowering thing for her, because the whole movie up until that point was, my mom says this, so I do this. My mom taught me this, so that's why the way I am. Not in a, my mom says this, so I can't do anything, but like an empowering, like my mom taught me this, my mom taught me this, my mom taught me this. And then that moment was the first time in the movie where she was like, I know my mom said this, but this is what I feel I have to do. And
Okay.
it wasn't a super emotional, like, I have to find the man of my dreams. It was like, this kid's gonna die if I don't do anything, and I know what mom said, but I gotta do it. And it was like, she kind of did that a little bit on the train, and then she kind of did it a little bit with him later on, and then this was like the first time where she was like, sorry, Mom, I know what you taught me, but I have to do my thing on this one. And I felt like that was sort of sticking to that, her being her own person sort of thing.
Yeah, and that's why I did mention, I feel like they did it very well on the reason to it. And it wasn't like a terrible thing for me. It was more just, it kind of took me out of what the theme of the movie is. Because, as I mentioned, like this age, it was directed towards people our age, maybe a little younger, like, college, late high school. Then when the boy kind of showed up, it felt like it was directed towards like middle schoolers. Which again, I mean, not a problem. Like, I love, kids movies. I'm cool with animated stuff for any range of movies. It's just, I don't know. It just kind of was all over the place at times for me. So I'll leave it at that.
That makes sense. And I totally get that. But I have a question for you, and I'm gonna start this by kind of answering my own side of it, because this is something that we talked about a couple of episodes ago. Things that we think movies did really, really well and that make them good movies, and then things that they don't do well that make them bad movies. One thing I will say about this movie is they did a fantastic job of developing their minor characters. And it's weird to call Sherlock Holmes a minor character, but this movie isn't about him. It's about Enola. But, I mean, Sherlock, Mycroft, the whole Tewksbury family, whatever they were, God, there were so many titles and names in there, and for the life of me, I couldn't name all of them right now. But that whole family, like, for how little time they spent on the screen, like, they all had a personality. The teacher that they had, and her relationship with Mycroft, which was weird, but, like, it was developed. They did such a good job. There were, like, 10 freaking characters in this movie who you could see having personality and depth to it. So while they get maybe some points off for not telling that clear, concise story that we mentioned a lot, I give them points back for definitely developing their characters well. So that was going to lead me into the question of, what, for you, do you think this movie, like, really, really, really did well? And then what do you think that they really kind of screwed up? Throwing back to our episode where we talked about that.
Thank you for giving me time to pull up my list from that show. So I thought they did a very good job early on. Again, as I mentioned, it felt like a lot of the movie was, finding my mom. But at the same time, it was a lot more about breaking away of the custom of what a woman is supposed to be in that time period and wanting more for herself. So I thought they did a great job of explaining, that's the, like, her conflict. That's what she wants to break free of. She wants to be like Sherlock. I mean, she wants to be a detective rather than being a housewife. And I thought that was really cool. I really liked that theme. I thought it worked very well. And as you mentioned as well, the characters were great. Every single character that was on screen for more than one scene, we knew a lot about them, and we enjoyed them, or we disliked them because they gave us so much. Like, I hate that character. And it wasn't because, like, it's poor acting. It's like, they did such a good job of making us dislike him or her.
Mycroft is a dick, but they did such a good job. And kudos to the actors too. They had quite the ensemble cast with this one, and everyone kind of nailed it.
Yeah, there wasn't a single person in the movie where I was like, I hate when they're on screen because it's just poor acting. And, again, all the characters all around were very enjoyable, and the theme of the character, her conflict, her wanting to break free of the norm, that was really cool. I thought they did that very well and explained it extremely early on, which is great. Honestly, the only, as we mentioned, like the only real issue I had with the film was I just wish it was a clearer understanding of who this movie was directed to. Because there were just scenes, because I guess for me, I can get in the mindset, like, if it's made for kids, I can be like, okay, this is campy, this is cheesy, I'm cool with it. But then you have people dying in blood, and I'm like, okay, that just felt lazy. I don't know if it's lazy or you're just directing it towards an audience. So it's like, that's why I'm just so mixed at portions of this movie. Because it's either I love 2/3 of the movie because, you want it to be, directed towards maybe young adults, kids, stuff like that. Awesome. But then it's like that you just killed the dude. So it was just kind of weird. Or vice versa. It's like, why is this so serious? But then you have this kind of cheesy campiness. So yeah, honestly, that was my only real issue. From dialogue to character development and the theme itself of the film, all around really good.
Yeah, definitely. And to kind of go over what we mentioned a couple of times, we picked a great week to go over some different ways to foreshadow. It's a movie about the Holmes family.
Yeah.
Detectives, it's got to be kind of suspense, thriller, mystery. I think they did one of everything. If they would have ordered from our last show, it would have been a one of everything. Because, you had, like, the red herring with the bombs and the mom. It was like, oh, my God, mom's going to blow up this, and then it just never happened. And then you had one same where it was like, holy crap, your uncle's trying to kill you. Psych, it's your grandma. And so
that was dope. I loved
awesome.
That so much. I loved her character. Loved her character.
Awesome. And I kind of like, and this right here is where the movie totally could have lost me, but they didn't, because they did it well. When he did the little homage to her bone corset thing, because earlier in the movie we see her with the bone corset, she gets stabbed, but hey, I have something underneath that protects me. And then when he gets shot, it was, hey, I have this, the plate of armor under it. When they just did it just right, because you see him like cowering by the suit of armor, and then the dude blasts the suit of armor, and there's pieces everywhere. So it makes sense why he had
access to it quickly. He knew he was getting shot. It makes sense that you would want to protect yourself. It's logical. And then
it's sort of like a throwback to when she did it, because it's like, oh, get it, because they're both clever. Like, that's the thing, is they're showing them they're both smarter than their opponents. They're not just gonna try to blast their way out, or whatever crappy movie would have done. So I liked that, but I swear, when he got shot, I said, if he is wearing a bone corset, I'm done, because they have no reason to do that. And then it would have been like a flashback to when they were prepping this, and they would have known that they would have gone there, and they would have known that someone would have had a gun, and they would have known he would have been shot, and so they used a corset, which wouldn't even stop the damn bullet. I would have been like, I'm out. This officially is stupid now. But they didn't. And so I was like, okay, thank you. That makes sense. That's logical. I get it. We're good here. So kudos to them for that, for doing that sort of thing. The whole, just everything in this movie came up at some other point. And I do like how they just didn't do anything with the bombs. Like, they set that up more than once with more than one person. Like, holy crap, mom's gonna blow something up. And that feels very sort of like Sherlock Holmes-esque, because if you've seen any of the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlocks, or any of the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock show, it is sort of that that move is the play. Holy crap, someone's gonna blow up this building, someone's gonna do this. And it makes sense why she would do it. That was her version of acting to make a change. And then Enola shows you there was the other way of acting to make the change. So I just think that whole aspect to it, as complex as it was done very well. Because that's something that is so easy to do poorly. So I definitely give them credit for at least handling that part very well. For whatever this movie is flawed, it wasn't that. So definitely points there for them.
So, as you mentioned with the armor at the end where he gets shot, as soon as it happened, I only stood up like, Deus Ex Machina. I was like, he's going to be living because some magical thing. And then I was like, okay.
A little cheesy, I'll grant you.
Yeah.
Definitely a little cheesy.
Yeah.
But logical, so it gets away with the cheese.
Yes.
I thought a total Deus Ex Machina moment was going to be when she was, like, getting choked out by the bowler hat dude when he was, like, trying to drown her.
Yeah.
I thought for sure that's when Sherlock was going to walk in and be like, I found you. Aren't you glad I'm the man that I am? And it would have taken away so much from the whole message of the movie.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad they didn't do that there. But yeah, definitely at the end there, the character is hopeless, dead in this case, and it's like some unforeseen thing swoops in. So pretty close. But they did it well.
They did. They definitely did there. And just kind of another moment that we were talking about for the foreshadowing of the film was she kept trying this, I don't know what to call it, just this move.
Corkscrew.
Yeah, thank you. The corkscrew move. You saw it probably 3 times, I want to say, against her teacher. I think there's a flashback with her mom and then the bowler hat dude, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all 3. Okay.
Yeah, she failed it twice in real time and then once in a flashback. And then at the end she successfully,
and that's how she went. I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, too successfully, my God. That was
that
was one of those like, oh God, what?
It shocked me because like the stab, I was like, okay, corset. And again, this is where that whole theme stuff threw me off because I was like, okay, PG-13 movie type of thing, totally get it, directed towards young adults, makes sense. And then she cold blood murdered a dude. I was like, whoa.
Right?
It's like, Enola's badass.
Oh, my God. But speaking of the bone corset thing, I want to touch on that again because that is a very good example of loading the gun first and then firing it later. Because when she is there having her, like, Pretty Woman moment of, like, I have money, and now you're going to, like, you don't think I belong here. Here's my money, and now you're going to bend over backwards for me sort of thing. And she specifically mentioned one article of clothing, and that was the bone corset, the whalebone corset. And so they made sure that kind of stuck out in your mind, so that way when that aha moment happened of like, she's dead, no wait, the corset, that's a prime example of loading the gun and then firing it later. And so, again, kudos there. Probably a little cheesy, because that trope happens so many times, like, I'm dead. No, wait, I'm not dead because of the thing, or the thing. But, I mean, they did it well, so might be overdone, might be cheesy, but in terms of, like, execution of that, well done.
Yeah. I'll definitely agree there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, at least for me, for this movie. I know there's one other thing we kind of mentioned previously I want to talk about. You go ahead and take it, and we'll see if maybe it's something you mentioned or if I can remember.
Well, I know right before we were talking about this, we were trying to see if they literally did everything that we mentioned, because we had, I think, like 5 different techniques you can use to foreshadow, and they're by no means, that's not to say those are only the techniques that you can use, or those are all the techniques. Those are just some that you see reoccurring a lot. And the one that we were thinking of was McGuffin. And we kind of said that her mom was kind of that MacGuffin. And it's really hard if you're looking for a MacGuffin to make it a person. I know we mentioned it with like Doug in The Hangover, because people also are part of the plot. People also like progress the plot in the story. And so if you take a person out, obviously things are going to be different, but that doesn't mean that every single person is a MacGuffin, because it's supposed to be this like one fanciful thing that is like the story. But in this case, I think it'd be fair to say that her mom is, because she is this one thing the whole story revolves around. Like, she went missing then then the Holmes brothers came back, and then Enola ran away, and then she ran into Tewksbury, and then. And so I think they literally did all of the things that we mentioned, which is great for us because we get to talk about them again.
Yeah, especially the next episode about 24 hours later. So right. It definitely works out pretty well for us. Yeah, I mean, honestly, all around, going into this movie, I was like, I'm really going to like this, I think. And it's funny because I'm not a fan of really detective stuff. I'm starting to broaden out what I enjoy. Knives Out, great movie. And I think that was kind of the opening of like, okay, wow, this stuff's really cool. So I went into this movie expecting a very fun time, and I got it. I definitely did. It did a lot of, as I mentioned, things that we've seen a lot in movies, but they executed everything very well. Outside of just, little things here and there. I don't even want to say dialogue, just, I guess, just moments that were like, eh. But, I mean, outside of that, like, characters, as we mentioned, were really good. I was trying to think if there's anything with the soundtrack I really caught. I don't think this. I honestly, you could tell me that nothing musically played in that movie, and I'd believe you because nothing stuck out to me. Man, I definitely enjoyed it myself, though.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a movie that's going to blow your hair back. I don't think, at least not for us. But it's definitely worth the watch. If you have Netflix, it's definitely worth your time, Pop it on one night. You're scrolling through, can't think of anything else to watch. Or if you were super excited about it, don't be disappointed because it was good. It's worth the watch.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely.
All right. I think it's going to wrap it up for the review portion of the show, of course. We're going to go ahead and, let you guys know where you can find us if you don't know everything and everywhere to find us. If you're listening to a podcast platform, possibly on Spotify, Google Play, thanks to our just overlords over at the great powerful overlords over at Anchor, doing a great job.
Oh, hail the great powerful Anchor as they distribute our content out into the world.
I love this. We just need you to do that voice for the whole outro. Beautiful. And then if you're listening to us on podcasting platform, if you want to, for whatever reason, see our faces, we're on the YouTube. We also post a show on Facebook. If you want to find us all in one place, though, that's the nerdchambers.com, our website that TNC Otter, our boy Manny, did a fantastic job really just upgrading that site to an incredible place that we almost spent hundreds of dollars on to get, and he did it in about a week. So it was great. It looks fantastic. Go check it out. We definitely get some more articles going on there. If you want to find our merch site as well, it's on there, spreadshirt.com/thenerdchambers. Movie nights, Nerd Chambers, get yourself a hoodie shirt. Those are my favorite things in the world. So comfy, you can wear them in 80-degree weather, and they're not even hot. They're so cool. Big fan. Outside of that,
I said not a sponsor. It's our stuff.
Yeah, it's all our stuff. So honestly, like, if you think penguins are cool, if you think otters are cool, think our little chibi faces are cool, if you just want to, the Nerd Chambers logo, that's cool too. It's classy. It's simple.
Great on a mug too. Got two.
Yeah.
Right up there.
Hell yeah. So we got some more stuff coming real soon. We also do have the sale. Actually, when this show launches on Saturday, the sale will be going on 15% off everything on the shop. Get to your cart, hit redeem. All you got to do gives you the 15% off. But yeah, I know next week we have a very fun thing we're going to do.
I'm excited.
I'll leave it at, it's going to be a riff track in a sense. We're going to be just talking over a movie. We're going to cut it down, hopefully keep it around an hour-ish of us just talking about the movie. And I'm sure if you have been following the shows, you can guess what movie we'll be doing. Very excited. I'm very excited. But Alex, go ahead and send the people home.
Go home, people. Do great things. Just get out. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I'm Alex. He's Brandon. I'll see you next week.